That notification wasn't random. And no, this isn't about a message you've already received. It's about a message that never reached you. A conversation that was supposed to happen, but didn't. Because while you've been trying to move forward, focusing on your own life, someone connected to your soul has been carrying a weight that is becoming impossible for them to ignore. And last night, something happened that changed everything. They weren't expecting it. Neither were the people around them. But what unfolded forced them to face a truth they've been avoiding for far too long. A truth about you. A truth about what you mean to them. And now, they feel an overwhelming need to speak to you immediately. But that's not the most surprising part. Because this realization didn't come during some romantic moment. It didn't happen while looking at your photos. It didn't happen because someone mentioned your name. No. It happened during a completely unrelated situation. Something ordinary. Something that should have meant nothing. Yet somehow, in that unexpected moment, your presence crashed into their thoughts so strongly that they couldn't escape it. At first, they tried to brush it off. They told themselves it was coincidence. Just another random memory. Just another passing thought. But the more they resisted it, the stronger it became. Until eventually they found themselves sitting in silence, staring into space, replaying things they thought they had already moved on from. Things they never admitted out loud. Things they never told you. And that's where the story begins to get strange. Because while they were wrestling with these thoughts, someone else noticed. A friend. A family member. Someone close enough to see the change in their energy. Close enough to ask a simple question. What's wrong with you? And for a moment, your soulmate froze. Not because they didn't know the answer. But because they knew exactly what the answer was, they just weren't ready to say it. Have you ever felt someone's energy pulling at you for no reason? Maybe you've been feeling unusually emotional lately. Maybe certain memories keep resurfacing. Maybe you've felt an unexplained heaviness in your chest. Or a sudden urge to check your phone. If that sounds familiar, don't ignore it. Because spiritual connections often begin speaking long before physical conversations happen. And what your soulmate is experiencing right now is creating waves that are reaching you too. But here's where things get strange. The question they were asked opened a door they never intended to open. At first they gave a simple answer. A safe answer. The kind people give when they're trying to hide what they really feel. But the person sitting across from them wasn't convinced. They pushed a little deeper. And then deeper. Until suddenly your soulmate found themselves saying things they never planned to say. Things that shocked even them. They started talking about you. Not directly at first. Just little comments. Little memories. Little observations. But with every sentence, the emotional wall they had built around themselves started cracking. And once those cracks appeared, everything began pouring out. What happened next changed everything. Because the more they spoke about you, the more they realized something terrifying. Their feelings never disappeared. They simply buried them. Deep enough to function. Deep enough to pretend. But not deep enough to forget. And that's the difference. Forgetting and suppressing are not the same thing. Your soulmate thought they had forgotten. But last night proved otherwise. Every memory remained untouched. Every emotion remained alive. Waiting. Sleeping. Until the right moment arrived. And now those emotions are awake again. Stronger than before. Much stronger. Because time has a strange way of revealing value. People often don't understand what they have until distance forces them to see clearly. And distance has been teaching your soulmate lessons they never wanted to learn. Lessons about your kindness. Your energy. Your loyalty. Your presence. Things they once overlooked now appear priceless. Things they once assumed would always be there suddenly feel impossible to replace. But that's still not the biggest revelation. Because while they were talking, something happened that neither of them expected. Their friend interrupted. Not to comfort them. Not to reassure them. But to tell them something shocking. Something that made your soulmate go completely silent. The friend said. You still love them. Simple words. Only 4 words. Yet those 4 words hit harder than anything else that was said that night. Because deep down, your soulmate knew it was true. And the moment those words were spoken, denial became impossible. For several seconds they couldn't respond. Couldn't argue. Couldn't explain. Couldn't defend themselves. Because every excuse they once used suddenly fell apart. And in that silence, a realization arrived. One they can no longer ignore. One that is now pushing them toward action. Toward communication. Toward a conversation they've been postponing for far too long. Here's where things become even more mysterious. Because this isn't only about emotions. This isn't only about missing someone. There is another reason they suddenly feel urgency. A reason nobody around them fully understands. Something happened shortly after that conversation ended. Something unexpected. Something that made them feel as if the universe itself was trying to get their attention. Deep enough to make them question everything. Deep enough to make them wonder whether losing you was the biggest mistake And since that moment, one thought has been repeating inside their mind. Over and over again. Like a song they can't stop hearing. A single question. A question connected directly to you. A question they desperately want answered. But they haven't asked it yet. Not yet. Because before they reach out, before they say what they're feeling, before they reveal what happened after that mysterious sign, they need to overcome one final fear. And that fear is far bigger than you realize. Because what they're hiding isn't just regret. It's something much deeper. Something they've never admitted to anyone. And when that secret finally comes out, nothing between you will ever be the same again. To be continued. The fear isn't that you'll reject them. That's what they keep telling themselves. That's the explanation they give when people ask why they haven't reached out. Why they hesitate. Why they keep typing messages they never send. Why they keep replaying conversations that ended long ago. But the truth is far more complicated. Because the fear keeping them silent has very little to do with rejection. It has everything to do with exposure. You see, reaching out to you would force them to admit something they've spent a very long time hiding. Not from you. From themselves. And last night, that hidden truth became impossible to avoid. After the conversation with their friend ended, they tried to distract themselves. They turned on the television. Scrolled through their phone. Moved from room to room. Anything to stop thinking about you. Anything to quiet the storm building inside them. But every distraction failed. Because the universe had already started pulling at the thread. And once that thread began unraveling, everything connected to you started resurfacing. A memory. A place. A song. A specific moment they thought nobody knew about. Suddenly it was all there again. Clear. Sharp. Unavoidable. But that's not the most surprising part. Because while these memories were flooding back, they stumbled across something they hadn't seen in a very long time. Something small. Something insignificant to anyone else. Yet the second they saw it, their entire emotional wall collapsed. For some of you, it was a photo. Realizing they may have been the reason they lost you. And that realization created a kind of pain they weren't prepared for. Because regret is different when the lesson arrives too late. Have you noticed strange shifts in your own energy recently? Moments where you felt ready to completely let go. Moments where you've started focusing more on yourself. If so, that isn't random. Because as you pull your energy back, as you stop chasing, as you begin choosing yourself, your soulmate is being forced to experience your absence in a completely new way. And absence has become their greatest teacher. Here's where things get strange. Because while they were drowning in these thoughts, another conversation happened. One they never expected. Someone brought up your name again. Not intentionally. Not as part of a serious discussion. Just casually. A random mention. A passing comment. Yet the effect was immediate. The room kept moving. The conversation continued. But internally, everything stopped. The second your name appeared, their attention disappeared from everything else. And that's when they realized something undeniable. No matter how much time has passed, you still matter. More than they admitted. More than they understood. Maybe even more than they're comfortable admitting now, but what happened next changed everything. Because after everyone left, after the noise faded, after the distractions disappeared, they found themselves alone with a question. A dangerous question. A question they've been avoiding for far too long. What if I've been wrong? Not wrong about a situation. Not wrong about timing. Wrong about you. Wrong about what you meant to their life. Wrong about what this connection actually was. And once that question entered their mind, nothing felt stable anymore. Because suddenly they started reviewing everything through a different lens. Moments they once dismissed now looked significant. Signs they ignored suddenly made sense. Decisions they defended no longer felt justified. And the more they looked back, the more one realization kept growing. You were never as ordinary as they pretended you were. You were never just another person. You were never replaceable. And deep down, they knew it. The entire time. But that's still not the biggest revelation. Because during this emotional unraveling, something happened spiritually. Something impossible to explain logically. Many of you watching will understand exactly what this means. A dream. An intuitive feeling. A powerful sign. An overwhelming sense of connection. Something arrived that felt bigger than coincidence. Bigger than memory. Bigger than imagination. And it left your soulmate shaken. Because for the first time, they began wondering whether this connection was destined. Whether every separation, every delay, every misunderstanding, was leading towards something neither of you could yet see. And that's when urgency entered the picture. Not longing. Not nostalgia. Urgency. The feeling that waiting any longer could cost them something important. The feeling that silence is becoming more dangerous than honesty. The feeling that a conversation needs to happen. Soon. Very soon. But here's the part nobody knows yet. There's still one obstacle standing in their way. One final piece of information they haven't revealed. One secret concern they keep carrying alone. And this concern isn't about the past. It's about the present. Because they recently learned something about you. Something unexpected. Something that completely changed the way they're viewing this situation. The moment they heard it, their heart dropped. Their mind started racing. And suddenly reaching out no longer felt optional. It felt necessary. Because what they discovered made them realize they might be running out of time. But what exactly did they learn? Who told them? And why did that information create such intense urgency overnight? That's the secret they're wrestling with right now. And you'll discover the shocking revelation that pushed your soulmate closer than ever to finally breaking their silence.